Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the AEW Dark Review for the 24th of November 2020. I love AEW. AEW to me is the best promotion in the country right now, and I will say this, but they need to tighten Dark up before they really start to burn their product out in a insurmountable way. It's a sign that they have too many talent. It's a sign that maybe Tony Khan and the executive vice presidents who want to do right by the business are so interested in giving people opportunities that they realize that if you give too many opportunities, nothing looks like an opportunity. Anyway, this is a nearly 3 hour. I think it ran at like 2 hours and 48 minutes, 2 hours 50 minutes, something like that. Edition of Dark, 14 or something like that matches, and some of it was good, some of it was awful, much of it was unnecessary. But it's there anyway. Vipress and Big Swole is your opening contest. Vipress is making her AEW debut here. Big Swole is the top ranked women's competitor. I don't understand that. Swole was in the pay per view match a couple pay per views ago with Dr. Britt Baker in the dentist match. I forgot what they officially called it. But anyway, she's dropped off and just kind of been there. Hair pulls and basic stuff here. Vipers hits a Northern Lights suplex and hits several strikes. Easy for me to say. Swole comes back, hits a Uranagi, and hits a Tiger Driver, and locks in a Clover Leaf, gets a submission victory. Dark Order, Alex Reynolds and John Silver, 3 and 4, defeat Lee Johnson and Aaron Solo. Here's a perfect example of a match that doesn't need to be here. In the sense that there's nothing wrong with anybody in the match, but you could cut this and it's not going to hurt anybody. And there's like half a dozen of those here. Rest of Dark Order do come out with Reynolds and Silver. Reynolds tries to get Solo to join the Dark Order, doesn't happen. Reynolds celebrates, but gets tricked when Solo isn't actually going to join. Turns it into a clothesline. Johnson tags in, hits a neck breaker, and gets driven into his opponent's corner. Solo goes for a dive. Reynolds gets a blind tag, cuts him off with a kick. Solo is down, and Silver is flexing and showing lots of personality. I like the fact that he was on AEW Dynamite tonight. Anyway, Johnson hit some clotheslines and neckbreaker before hitting a nip up. He hits a dive over onto Silver and a Blue Thunder bomb on Reynolds to get a near fall. Reynolds escapes a double team. Solo runs wild clotheslines, and Solo and the Dark Order pinned Solo with a German suplex into a jackknife cradle. This was fine, but if you left it till next week, it wouldn't have mattered. Leva Bates is in the library. She has framed pictures of Avalon and Cutler, but she basically pushes them on the floor. She calls them morons and dead weight, and it's time to start her own story. That would be awesome. Leva Bates has been wasted in that story anyway. Trent with Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy defeats Michael Nakazawa. Speaking of a match that doesn't need to happen, Nakazawa, I get that he's friends with Kenny Omega, but he doesn't need to be employed. He's like 45 plus years old, never done anything meaningful in the business to mention, at least stateside. I don't know his Japanese. Easy for me to say as my microphone falls over. Don't know his Japanese career well enough to state anything, but the fact of the matter is it's not worth going into here in terms of holding it up and making it matter. The match itself is relatively inconsequential and unnecessary, and honestly, it's a sign that we just want to get everyone on the show because we like people, and it's bad for business in the long and short run. If you burn your fans out with inconsequential matches, what are you really accomplishing? And then if you're not really accomplishing anything with the matches, then why are people going to watch them? Sooner or later, you're going to burn out your audience, and that's not good for anybody on the roster, from the opening match to the main event. Anyway, this is again Nakazawa doing the I spread baby oil on the ropes to make people fall story. Um, and, Trent, who was on a main event in a brutal parking lot brawl type match, is now reduced to this. Um, this is a comedy match, and if there's people in the crowd at an indie show, maybe this is appropriate, but it doesn't belong on represented on a national promotion. Um, Bryce Remsburg has to remove bottles of oil from his from Nakazawa's trunks, and Trent's tired of this, and he demands a fight. So they actually do fight. Nakazawa grabs the nipple region of his opponent and hits a diving shoulder tackle. Trent regroups, and Cassidy and Taylor are out there wondering why they're in the business, probably. Anyway, back in the ring, Trent attacks with chops and knees. He hits top rope, but Nakazawa pulls him down. Trent hit the half and half, followed by a Northern Light suplex for near fall. A big lariat from Trent gets another near fall. And officials' backs are turned, so Nakazawa grabs another bottle of oil, his third of the match, by the way. And Trent goes for the Tornado DDT. Can't get a grip on Nakazawa, who had hits a Salto suplex. Nakazawa pulls his undergarments out of his trunks and then goes for the claw. Trent hits a backdrop suplex. Trent hits a series of running knees to end the match. This was ridiculous and a waste of time. Speaking of ridiculous and a waste of time, the continued push of Red Velvet defeating Tasha Price. Velvet applies a couple of pinning combinations and nails some offense right as the match begins. Price avoids a attack and drives Velvet into the corner, hits a bulldog. Velvet fights back with a series of clotheslines and transitions into a Cazadora, hits a bulldog of her own, hits a double knee, and it's just here. Hits a drop kick for the win. Finish makes no sense. Anyway, Sean Spears and Tully Blanchard are out. They're interviewed by Alex Marvez. I like the fact they're interviewed. I'd rather see them interviewed by a potted plant. The potted plant probably has more charisma than Marvez. Anyway, Marvez asked about Spears' win over Scorpio Sky. Spears takes offense to it being called controversial and says that he and Tully are here to exploit the advantages in the system. Marvez asks what's next for Spears and Sky, and Spears says there's nothing next, advising Sky that Nice Guys finished last. Then more promos. Lance Archer makes his way out, and Ariel Dominguez on his shoulders, and Jake Roberts trailing behind. Archer chokeslams Dominguez, and Roberts begins to speak. Roberts says he's not a good guy or a bad guy. He's just an honest, well, I'll clean it up, but honest person. He and Archer tried listing accomplishments that they've done, and Archer dares anyone in AEW who's listening to get in his face and show him who they are. This is fine, and I guess it leads into tonight pretty well. They promised that they're getting returns, and it's now been weeks without any real direction or clarity for Archer, which is just sad. Private Party defeating VSK and Baron Black. Again, Private Party was cool when they started. They lack direction. The biggest thing about them is Matt Hardy. and he's not always with them 100% of the time, so that's there. They control this enhancement match early, and there's a tag to VSK. Private Party continues with some drop kicks on both opponents. Black cuts off a dive with an atomic drop. The enhancement talents actually isolate Cassidy for a bit. Flapjack on Cassidy, or by Cassidy, gives him enough time to get to Quinn. Quinn goes nuts. Private Party hits a shooting star press into a lung blower for the win. Completely throwaway match that didn't need to happen. I mean, I look at it this way. Let's suppose we're through the pandemic and I'm a new fan and I happen upon the YouTube channel. Is this match going to make me buy a ticket? No. Is anything on Dark so far going to make me buy a ticket? Not really. And that should be the focus of every match. Convincing people to buy a ticket when they come to do TV or pay-per-view, or convincing them that this person or people are cool enough to buy merchandise for. Even if you're moving away from the ticket model, merchandise should be equal to that. Anyway, Kylan King defeats Riche Chanel. Both of these young ladies are fine, but they do not have enough experience to be here. They both go for cradles early. King offers a handshake, but it's denied. And they basically do kind of like the old hair pull stuff that was cool in the 80s. I mean, it just didn't seem great. Trade of strikes by both women. Clotheslines and a roundhouse kick and a German suplex for a near fall. King's pretty dominant here. Chanel fights back with strikes. King hits a crossbody, and the Kingdom falls for the win. Completely unnecessary match. Oh, speaking of unnecessary, Sammy Guevara, who is part of the Inner Circle, which was at one point one of the bigger stables, if not the biggest stable on AEW, is now fighting, now get this, Marco Stunt. I know there are people that think Stunt is fun, and he would be if you still had a midget division. But it's an insult to talented people that they're forced to sell his offense. Anyway, Guevara comes out. He gets takedowns early, and he is a good heel, so he's able to pull out at least some personality out of this. He taunts Stunt. Stunt slaps him, takes him down, hits a Dragon Rana on the floor. Back in ring, Stunt hits a diving elbow for a near fall. Why anyone would believe that this kid, who's a $125, could win anything, I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't get the psychology. I don't get the ability, unless you're going to literally have a small person's division. In which case, do that. Put him there. Let him shine there. If you're going to employ someone that small, you have to have other small people for them to work with. Anyway, Stunt tries to continue his offense, doesn't go very well. Guevara cuts him off, hits a knee. Guevara continues his beatdown, hits a beautiful 450 springboard onto the floor. Why you'd waste that in a throwaway internet match, I don't know. Guevara hits a Rana, and then they go out of the ring, using the full length of the stage to hit a cannonball, and Guevara crushes Stunt with a forearm, hits the go to hospital for pinfall. Guevara basically shows him a little bit of respect. He grabs the mic and cuts a promo. He acknowledges the effort of Stunt and said that in 2020 had thrown everything at him and he's still here, and he does his best every night in the ring. He then said there's no bigger or brighter star than Sammy Guevara, though, and soon people will see that he's not only the best but also a champion. Obviously, they're going to turn him baby at some point, which I think would be good for his career. Bad for the career is Penelope Ford with Kip Sabian versus Dream Girl Ellie. Um, Ford sent to the outside early in this. She stops Ellie's dive with a forearm, and then the lovebirds kiss on the outside. Ford hits a gut buster for a near fall. Ellie fires back, hits a German suplex bridge, but doesn't get anything out of it. Ford hits a handspring elbow and a handspring cutter, and hits a fisherman suplex for the 3. Penelope Ford might be a good character if you kept her out of the ring consistently. I have no problem with her maybe in a mixed tag. I have no problem with her in small spots or hitting spots in the ring at some point. But full matches, she doesn't have the charisma, the timing, the ability. She might be a good physical athlete, but she doesn't string things together well. She's just being misused here. Anyway, Ivelisse and Diamante defeat Lady Frost and Jenna. Jenna is the formerly known as Genocide. They cut the name off. She stops an arm drag early, and Frost hits a standing moonsault. Diamante comes back with a forearm. Ivelisse tags herself in and hits a series of kicks. Frost tries to fight back. Ivelisse and Diamante isolate her, and that doesn't go very well. Flipping neckbreaker from Frost gives her a tag to Jenna, and she nails both of her opponents with clotheslines. Double chokeslam attempted, but Diamante kicks out of this. Ivelisse then kicked out one of Jenna's legs, and Diamante transitioned into a code red for the pinfall. Again, women's match just for the sake of putting women on the show. It has no direction. It has no purpose. Brandon Cutler defeats Adam Priest. They wrestle around pretty well for a few minutes. Cutler explodes out with a shoulder tackle. Priest goes after the legs of Cutler and hits a dragon screw. Ouch. Never did like that move, but it makes sense. He counters and continues to work on Cutler's knee. Cutler comes back with an enziguri. Priest fights out and hits the TPK. Cutler hits a springboard forearm and hits a slingshot elbow before nailing the TPK for his 4th straight win. At least they're doing something with Cutler now. I hope it's leading somewhere and not just wins for the sake of, hey, we made you lose 40 times in a row, now let's give you 40 wins in a row. Hope it has a story and a meaning to it. Waiting room with Dr. Britt Baker. Baker is introduced by Reba. She is pointing out, obviously being a dentist, the face of the women's division, but she also says she's now a comedian. They pipe some laughter in when she's telling jokes. She congratulates Jon Moxley and Renee on their pregnancy. She hopes that Moxley doesn't no-show the delivery date like he no-showed the contract signing on Dynamite. But ching. Anyway, Ty Conti was her first guest. She lets us know that her name is pronounced like the word Ty. Baker asks who her favorite women's wrestler was, and she lists many names, but not Baker's, which annoyed Baker. Baker asks what Conti's relationship status is, and then she says that's none of your business. They get into a shouting match, and Rebel diffuse the situation by inviting out the next guest, the Acclaimed. This is going on way too... I love Britt Baker, but this is not the best use of Britt Baker unless they're going to tighten this up somehow. The Acclaimed comes out, Caster raps for a while, and it just is here. The Gun Club, Billy, Gunn, Austin Gunn, Colton Gunn defeat Caesar Bonnie, KTP, and Seth Genghis. Gun Club make their trios debut. Billy Gunn is allowed to use his name again, or at least they acknowledge him as a Gunn. Bonnie is a former NXT person. KTP is an independent guy, and Genghis is making his AEW debut in the contest. I mean, there's nothing really to this. Again, it could be cut off. I assume they're going to eventually do a trios title type thing, and this will mean something. Gun Club isolate the newcomer. They hit frequent tags, and Austin Gunn makes a blind tag, but he is floored with a Bonnie clothesline, and KTB tags in and tags to Genghis. Austin hits an enziguri and tags in Colton. Colton hits a few splashes before nailing a beautiful drop kick. Colton hits a version of the Famouser called the Colt 45 for his first pinfall victory. Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus defeat Panda Express, Super Panda, and Ultimate Panda. So we we have seen the Panda Express defeated. This makes me sad. Anyway, this is a good comedy match, I guess. Ultimo is running ropes and barely can survive. Jungle Boy hits an arm drag, and Super Panda is tagged in. Super Panda tries to chop Luchasaurus, but obviously the size difference is too much. And then Luchasaurus hits a release suplex. Ultimo tags back in, and Jungle Boy lands an assisted senton for a near fall. Ultimo stays on offense, but Jungle Boy avoids a double team. Luchasaurus goes nuts. Panda Express cut him off, and Super hits a frog splash. Jurassic Express has had enough, so Luchasaurus hits a spinning kick, and Jungle Boy hits a running elbow smash for the pin. Hybrid 2 defeat Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison. This is horrible because Garrison and Pillman should be being given more. Like, I don't even understand why you wouldn't be looking to give the son of the loose cannon more. And Griff Garrison has a lot of talent. TH2 has 2 matches in a week, while other people are struggling to get credible matches on Dark. They beat down Pillman early on. Backbreakers, neckbreaker combo, and Helico applies an inverted figure 4. Pillman gets to the ropes. Pillman hits a superplex for what should have been a victory. Ends up being a bit of a near fall. Hot tag to Garrison. Not sure that would be where I'd go with a hot tag. And he goes nuts, hits a face buster, and Jack Evans tries to stop this. Garrison catches him. Pillman hits an assisted blockbuster. Evans hits a moonsault to Garrison on the outside, and Helico hits the Navarro death roll, forcing Pillman to submit. TH2 continues to attack their opponents. Top Flight runs out to make the save. Just not a fan of this at all. You're building up the wrong people at the wrong time. Anyway, the Acclaimed Anthony Bowens and Max Caster defeats Alec Chamberlain and Damian Ferrier. Caster raps during the early parts, and there's some vicious chops early. Ferrier lands some arm drags, but misses a drop kick. Bowen pulls him off the apron. Acclaimed beats him down on the outside, and finish where Bowens sends Chamberlain scared off the apron. Caster hits a diving elbow drop to get the pin. Chamberlain makes no effort to break it up. Maybe Chamberlain is going to be a regular character and he's going heel. Otherwise, this doesn't make much sense. Matt Sydal and Alan Angels with Preston Vance Much of the Dark Order joins for the entrance, but only Vance stays at ringside. Don't understand this. Um, Decent back and forth match, but if you have a former WWE guy, why are you giving him? Well, I can see why you would give him a competitive match with Angels, but the Dark Order thing should go first. Anyway, um, he says he knows more about the Dark Order and more than the Dark Order. Angels rejects an offer and demands a fight. Good chain wrestling throughout what is a short match, but neither man could really gain a solid advantage. Seidel takes Angels down, hits a Rana, but Angels hits a decent lariat. Angels keeps on the offense, but can't really keep going uh, in a convincing way. Angels keeps on the offense, and then Seidel hits a sidewalk slam driver type maneuver. Angels escapes and runs the floor. Vance protects Angels, and there's a baseball slide. Seidel gets beat down with Angels distracted by the official. Um, Lots of heat, and Seidel gets beat down for several minutes. Several round kicks and standing corkscrew moonsault for a near fall. Fisherman Buster gets another near fall. Seidel eventually hits a Russian leg sweep and applies the Cobra clutch. Vance comes in with a distraction. Seidel hits a hook kick and a second row moonsault for another good near fall. And Seidel turned the wing snapper into a cradle and picks up a win by proxy. Peter Avalon defeats Fuego del Sol. Uh, Avalon has eventually dropped, or evidently dropped, um, the librarian gimmick in favor of a pretty wonderful slash slime boy player gimmick. He's got music, and Fuego del Sol ends up getting hit, and Peter Avalon says he doesn't want to get hit in the face. Del Sol turns a move into a roll up, and they exchange cradles. Del Sol misses a drop kick. Back in the ring, Avalon lands a suplex for a near fall. Del Sol manages a superplex. It's not like the fourth one we've seen on the show. And a cross body, followed by a straight jacket neckbreaker for a near fall. And he goes for a tornado DDT, but Avalon fights out and hits the knees for his first AEW win. I think that's like his first win in like 30, 40 matches, whatever. Dark Order, Stu Grayson, and Evil Uno, why are they even here? Defeats Joey Janela, why is he even employed? And Sonny Kiss. And the Chaos Project, Luther and Serpentico. So we've got a three-team Chaos match. Basically, they kind of do a lot of stuff. Dark Order attacks before the bell, but they're sent outside. Crossbodies by Janela and Kiss to both teams. Chaos Project and Janela and Kiss are, I guess, legal teams in the ring. Chaos Project keep with the Luther using Serpentico as an offensive weapon. Uno grabs a hot tag on Serpentico, and Kiss reaches Janela for his own hot tag. Janela goes nuts, managing each of his opponents pretty well. He nails Serpentico, another superplex, that's like half a dozen now, onto both of the Dark Order. Janela and Kiss hit a Doomsday Device on Serpentico for near fall. I remember when the Doomsday Device was a devastating finish. Serpentico sends Janela to the outside, hits a DDT on Kiss. So he's forced to tag a member of the Dark Order because his partner's nowhere to be found. Kiss gets hit with an assisted power bomb. Grayson kicks Janela off the apron, and Uno hits a senton atomico for a near fall. Luther finally gets back in and uses Serpentico to take control, as in uses him as a weapon. Um, Luther makes his way back in, and Serpentico didn't want to, but Luther convinced him to get tossed onto his opponents again on the outside. Luther lands a cannonball of his own. Chaos Project hits the creeping death on Kiss, but Uno breaks it up. Dark Order makes their way back into the match, and Grayson catches Janela on a crossbody, allowing the Dark Order to hit the fatality for the win. My gosh. So this is almost 3 hours, and you give us this for a finish? Please don't do this anymore. AEW, I love you, but I hate the fact that you feel the need to put everyone on your roster on the show every week. Anyway, until next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment.